Good afternoon, everyone. This is Marilyn Hemingway, and welcome to A Gathering Place brought to you by the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce. And I am excited to have as our guest today photojournalist Marley Nichelle. Gala. She's a Gala community member who lives in Charlottesville, Virginia now. And she's originally from the Choppee community in Georgetown, South Carolina. Let me bring Marley on. Marley Nichelle.
Good.
Marley, how are you
How you
doing?
doing, Miss Marilyn? Can you hear me? I'm
Um,
good.
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. And we are looking forward to our conversation with you. But before we do, let's do our show opening. I'm trying a little bit different today, folks. Let's do our show opening. And after our show opening, we'll get into our conversation with Marley. Hello, I'm Marilyn Hemingway, and welcome to A Gathering Place. I said, I'm stepping back because we have young voices who want to be heard and they're moving on something.
Branding is really important to you and your business.
Even a basic type of technology, you learn it all.
And people are
Good question. Well, welcome back, everyone. It's Marilyn Hemingway and Marley Nichelle, and we are excited to be here today. You are a photojournalist. Is that
Yes,
correct? All right,
yes,
very good.
ma'am.
And we're just so happy to have you here with us. And where are you right now? You're in Charlottesville, right?
I am currently in
All right,
Charleston.
very good. So we're gonna start out with first. Oh, let me get your bio. I had it ready. So let me read it really quickly. Quick. Marley Nichelle is a photojournalist and creative from Choppee, South Carolina. Y'all, that's Choppee community. In
Choppy.
it's in the rural area of Georgetown County. I actually went to Choppee Middle School for a couple of years. My mother was librarian at Choppee High School. But anyway, that's another story. She's currently based in Charlottesville, Virginia, and she is a self-taught freelance photographer who specializes in landscape, street, lifestyle, and studio photography. Her work has been featured in the New York Times, Associated Press, Shutterstock, and in exhibitions at McGuffey Art Center, New City Artists Exchange, and Second Street Art Gallery. The majority of the work is created to control and preserve Black narratives and amplify Blackness through visual arts. Being a Black creative, these mediums of photography have been ways for Marley to amplify voices and stories of Black and Brown cultures authentically and bring creative visions to life through multimedia. And you have something coming up in 2022. Let me make sure that's right. Or you're working on it now, Marley. So I'm
I'm
the
working on it now.
Geechee
Yes, ma'am.
the Geechee Marley experience. Am I correct? All right. And we want to hear more about that, the Geechee Marley experience. And can you tell us more about that? And before we
So
do, let me ask you this, if you don't mind me asking, make sure I am correct. What pronouns do you use so we can make sure that we're correct?
my pronouns are he him. My pronouns are him.
He, him. All right,
Yes,
very
ma'am.
good. Thank you for
Thank you.
correcting me.
Thank
All
you.
right, he, him. All right. We got to
Yes,
show
ma'am.
respect. He, him.
Thank you.
Very good,
I
Marley. Thank
appreciate
you
it.
for joining
Thank
us.
you.
So thank you
So
for tell us about the Geechee Marley experience.
So I was selected by Second Street exhibit or art gallery to hold my own show, basically, my solo show at their space. And so I was just like, I already have a project. I already know what I can do. So why not just bring this here? So I really wanted to bring this project to Charlottesville mostly because when I first moved up here, I really didn't realize that I even had a dialect until I moved here. I thought like everything was just still the same, But when I moved here, it was very culture shocking, very white, and it was something that I didn't experience. Where we from, I came up in mostly black areas, so it was more. I had black spaces. I didn't have to like try to find black spaces. I had them. I had access to them growing up. So have coming here and not having a lot of those, it was just kind of different. And then you are now in a position where you are in a different environment that you now have to adjust to. And I kind of lost myself. I even lost my accent a little bit because I just felt like it was weird. Now I can switch up. I do a lot of code switching, but when I'm home is when I'm mostly comfortable, being myself, because I feel like a lot of people, they identify me with, like, people were asking if I was Jamaican. It was mostly white people. And I thought it was kind of like because of my locks, but even black people would say I had a dialect, and I would just be like, "What?" And I remember my grandma, and she would just be like, "You Geechee," and that's when I really started looking more into like Geechee when I first started. And that was back in 2015, and then years like try to adjust to the environment, and being that I'm career and in my life, I wanted, before I leave Charlottesville, I wanted to be able to do something. So getting selected for this, I wanted to take a negative and turn it into a positive, because the culture is so stereotyped, a lot, especially when it comes to the culture as a whole, not just individually. Like, we are very stereotyped. And I want people to be aware of who we are. I want to keep the stories alive, and that's why I created this project. So I'll be coming home on May 28th, to South Carolina. I'm starting in Beaufort County, and I'm making my way up the Low Country, but the focal point will be my home, mainly because we see a lot. Like, I've been doing a lot of research for the project, and I see like a lot of people go to Beaufort and Charleston, but a lot of people aren't aware that Georgetown is also a very important city in the state of South Carolina, and it is the third oldest city in the state of South Carolina of Gullah people that reside on that corridor. So it's just like, I want to make people aware of my home. I want people to know about Georgetown. I want Georgetown to be, included. I want everybody to be included. And I also chose to go to the Low Country because I didn't grow up in the low, like further down in the Low Country, but I went to school. So when I moved deeper down into the Low Country is when it started getting real, real fun. Like, you learn so much more. You learn a lot when you leave home versus when you home. So it's been a great experience. Even so, I am looking forward to coming home to Georgetown County.
Yeah, I tell people, Marley, I tell people, when you talk about you learn more when you leave home, and I'm hearing you and I'm thinking, when did you learn what you're talking about right now?
Got you.
Is this something
Yeah.
you talk about your grandmother, your mother? Um, is this something that you knew all along, but leaving home made you more aware of it, and
Yes,
then you
leaving
started
home made me
studying more?
way more aware. Leaving home made me way more aware, because even when I moved down into Beaufort County, that's when I started getting, learning a little bit more. So I already I was heavy in the culture. I just became more aware when you lose, like I said, Charlottesville is culture shocking. So it's like, I don't have those same types of people here. So once you see that, and then you see, like I said, with my dialect, you being stereotyped about how you speak, and because I said certain words differently, or like I'll add s's, or I'll add an ed on something quick, but I'd be like, man, it's chopped up. We make up words. You know what I'm saying? I feel like learning, because even growing up, when I was home, I remember we would go to Charleston to church events, and we would tell people in Charleston, like, we'd be like, y'all Geechee, and then Charleston people would tell us the same thing, and then we'd be like, no, we not. But then when I moved here, now when I call to Georgetown and I listen to people home, I'd be like, oh my God, like, y'all really are Geechee. We really are Geechee. I hear it so much heavily. I hear it more now because I've been going for almost 6 years. It's like, hey,
So how
here
many
in
how
order,
many how many years have you been gone? Because you buffered
for
just
almost,
a little bit.
I've been going almost 6 years. Next
Six
month it'll
years.
be six
Okay.
years. I've been in Israel for 6 years. So you hear it strongly now when I call. So it's like having those, you know.
So Marley, yeah. Marley, you're buffering just a little bit. So, but I'm gonna. Hopefully, you can hear
All
this
right, can you hear
question
me
I'm
now?
asking. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
can
can
hear
hear you.
you.
You buffered just a little bit. So so you left home. You're in Charlottesville, Virginia. You're realizing you have a dialect, which, by the way, a lot of people experience the same thing that you do. And one of the things, I'm an Air Force brat. So I went overseas, and when I came back, and my dad retired out of Shaw Air Force Base in Sumter. So then we came back home, and that's when I went out to Choppee for a couple of years. But I remember talking to people in Choppee, and they're like, "Oh, them people down in Charleston, they Geechee." And I'm sitting here listening to them going, "But you sound just alike." Like,
Right.
it's like, because Geechee was kind of like, "You country," which was
Right.
more than ironic, because Choppee, you out in the country. Let's just
You in
be
the
honest.
country.
You in the country. They Geechee, like they country. And I'm like, you sound just like them. And then I also remember being with my mother at the market in Charleston, and an elderly Black woman was selling tomatoes. And she spoke to me, and I turned to my mother and said, I don't understand what she said. Now, you have to remember, I went overseas.
Right.
And I tell people, I am not fluent in Gullah Geechee. But you hear it has a dialect. When
Yes.
I can say, Gullah for honor. I can't speak it when I'm hanging out with my families and friends, but I don't tell people I'm fluent in it. So she translated it for me, because my mother's family is Beaufort. She's from Beaufort. Her mother, my maternal mother, grandmother's from Beaufort. So she's like understanding what folks are saying. She spoke it herself, even though, like me, it wasn't her first language. And that's what it is. People really need to understand that Geechee, Gullah Geechee, that's a language. It's a whole culture that was created by our ancestors. And it should be something that we're proud of. But because I tell people, you just don't go to people and say, oh, you're Gullah. I don't wake up every morning going, I'm Gullah. We just are. It's something we are.
Right.
You don't think about it
you don't think
until
about
you
it.
move away. And then people say, oh, you have this accent. And you're like, but everybody I grew up with sound just like me. What accent are you talking about?
Right. And that's how I felt. And it was challenging, because I was just like, well, me, which I'm glad I kind of like learn up more. I'm learning more. I'm getting heavy more in the culture, because now I can understand why like I am the way I am. Because people up here in Charlottesville would be like, why you care so much about Charlottesville and the community? I'm like, that's just how you grow up. I mean, I grew up, we look out for each other, that's in me. But then not like learning about the culture and learning like who we are. I'm just like, why aren't y'all like that? You know what I'm saying? Why aren't y'all not sticking together? And like, why is this not normal? And that's what I noticed. It's a lot of things that's not normal here that's normal back home. And it's kind of like a challenging thing, because now you're being positioned. And I tell people, I lost myself a little bit. But getting into this project and doing research, it just confirms who you are and why you are this way. And then that is okay. This is normal. And showing Charlottesville that's why I want to show Charlottesville that I don't want to just talk about the bad. I want to talk about the good too, because even learning about Gullah people, through everything they went through, they still did for themselves. Like, that's why I love them so much. They created their own schools, they created their own history, their own language, their own everything. And until this day, people are still trying to take that away through the lands. And it's just like, how could I tell people up here, I'm starting to now tell Black people, y'all might be Gullah and don't even know, because we have been so it's just it's being erased so much. And I feel like the importance of keeping the stories going is important. That's why I do what I do in photojournalism, because that narrative is so important. Like, nobody talks about the Gullah Wars, nobody talks about which is also known as the Seminole Wars. It's like we aren't aware of a lot of these things. And I feel like Gullah teaches us how to not. I don't feel like Gullah makes us depend on the system. Gullah is a system that depends on its own system that it built for itself. And that's why I love Gullah culture. It was built for us to have for ourselves. And
It was
keeping that
built for
alive is
us
important.
and by us. And I'm
Exactly.
glad you put it that way, because I think in the Gullah Geechee Chamber, that's one of the things why I created the Gullah Geechee Chamber, to remind us, to remember us, to remember
Right. Remember who we are.
that we were put in a position where we created a whole new culture, a language that took African tribal languages and English and Spanish and made a whole new language. That speaks to strength. That
Facts.
speaks to intelligence. And let's just be honest, when people talk about enslaved or a peculiar institution of slavery, they do it from a point of view of, oh, they grew the rice. They just were only capable of growing rice. You know what I'm saying? They're out there in the fields. Where I tell people now, our enslaved ancestors were brought here because they knew how to control the water, manage the land to grow the rice and indigo. That's a totally different concept. That speaks to engineering. That speaks to
Culture.
being builders. Thank you. That speaks to being
Yes.
educators.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why
So yeah, you got it. You got it.
these things are
So
important.
let me, yeah, very important. So let me ask you this. How did you get into photography? And then after you tell us that, how does being Gala inform your photography? How does it impact your photography? But first, how did you get into photography? What's that journey?
Well, I started 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I started doing photography, and what made me do this, I really wanted to do a career because I do music too, but I wanted to do a different medium of my artistry. And I've always taken pictures. I just never really took it serious. I started out on my phone, and then I got a camera, and then I just started learning. I stayed consistent. I taught myself everything. I would be up until like 3, 4 in the morning watching YouTube videos, learning, just studying, trying to like understand how this works. And once I got everything I needed, everything was a form of practice, even my protest photos. I went to protests to really practice taking people in motion. So I didn't think, that as I'm out here taking these pictures that they would actually be really nice to people. I'm just practicing. But they actually turned out really amazing. And when I started seeing people's response to my photography, I was like, well, man, I must really be a great photographer. So I just stuck with it. I just
Well,
stuck
good for
with it,
you. I'm looking at, you mentioned protest pictures while you're talking. I'm going to be putting some pictures up, and this is one at a protest,
Yes,
and it
ma'am.
says "Voter Black Lives Matter." Can you tell us a little bit about this picture? 'Cause this is a great picture, by the way. I mean, it's
Thank
just a
you.
beautiful picture. The color, the sharpness of it, the mood of this picture. Tell us a little bit about this picture.
So this picture was actually taken on Juneteenth of 2020 last year, in Richmond, Virginia. Yeah, it's like an hour out of Charlottesville, I think. But it's in Richmond, Virginia, and they had Richmond were after the George Floyd case when during the summer protest last year. I'm not sure if a lot of people on the East Coast were aware, but Richmond was really holding it down. Like I marched on the streets with them, like day in, day out. They were on the grounds for 30 days protesting, resisting. I felt like that for me was empowering because it's like you don't stop, you keep going, and to see how much people kept coming, it kept growing. And on this day, Juneteenth, it fell during that time, and Trey Songz hosted an event on Juneteenth, and I was actually recording for a documentary that I was in as a Black photojournalist this same day as well, and we were documenting this actual protest. But it wasn't a protest; it was just a celebration. So we were documenting that for the documentary as well. So I was being documented doing my work at that time.
Very good. And I have another one here. And you said you've been doing this about 2 years.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
yeah. So this clearly to me is your passion for you. And is this by phone or did you go out and buy cameras?
No, ma'am. These what you seen is shot off of an actual camera.
Okay. All right. Very good. And this is another one, Don't Shoot.
Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
Powerful, beautiful sister, by the way. Um, and tell us about this one.
So with this photo shoot, this was actually a birthday photo shoot. She wanted to do three different like genres or eras, should I say,
Mm-hmm.
with her outfit apparel. So for present day, she wanted to do something in reference to social justice, and I was just like, well, let's put a "don't shoot" around to
Yeah.
make it look, it's as of you don't need to really say it, you just see it. So
So,
she liked it, and I was just like, well, I'm keeping this one.
So while I'm taking it down, but while you were shooting this one, don't shoot. I'll put it back up briefly. Were you thinking, and also the young lady, were you thinking about Sandra Bland, who
Of
was
course.
killed?
You
Yeah,
think about
yeah.
all you think about I felt like that's why it was powerful for because most of my pictures I have people either put a fist in the air or anything or something like that to just show it. But like in this, black women are God to me. So knowing this, and the silencing and the erasing of black women and how black women don't get the same, amplifying or their voices don't get amplified equally, as to other people. And, especially with Sandra Bland, the young lady Breonna Taylor, like you look at all of these stories of black women that kind of just get pushed under the rug. So with her, I wanted a black woman to to send that message out because at the end of the day, black women are organizing these protests for black men that are dying. Black women are making sure that black men, are on the grounds. Like black women stands up for us in a lot of areas that we don't even see or know and we don't appreciate because they aren't acknowledged, they aren't amplified. So when I did that, I just felt like putting the don't shoot and it coming from a black woman in general was more powerful to me in that perspective.
Do you feel, because West African culture, matriarchal, very strong
Yes,
women, you know,
very
were leaders, ran the villages, and
right.
that doesn't take away from men. Men had their role. They went out, gathered the food, brought it back in, but the women were there. It was a more equitable society. Let me put it that way. Very matriarchal. Do you think you feel that through your gala culture? And that also informs your pictures, not only what's going on right now, but that our ancestors are speaking to you?
I To be honest with you, yes, to
Be
an
honest.
extent,
That's why I asked the
because
question.
when I think like I have a lot of conversations with my grandmother about, we've been talking about the project and we've been just talking about back in the day a lot. And she would tell me stories about how she was raised and how her dad, did this and then her mom did this. So, but I feel like a lot of what influences me in a lot of ways is the black woman because it is my grandmother. I wasn't raised in that era she was raised in, but she raised me on the same land that she was raised on. She with the teachings, that she was raised. But one thing I've always watched my grandmother do is do everything for herself. Nobody came and cut her grass. She did it herself. Nobody, picked her crop for her. She did it herself. My Aunt Joanne is the same way. You see these things, even all the female women in the older female women, the black women in our family. Like I remember growing up, my great uncle, he still would plow tobacco. He would still have to grow tobacco. And his daughters would be in the field helping him. So it's like, I've just been that's why I don't like that we hold these standards to certain people because it's an equitable thing. We all take care of each other. Everybody has the thing that they do for each other. It's like that barter system almost. You know what I'm saying? Capitalism is killing us, and people don't understand that. Like, it's really killing us to an extent because we forget how to take care of each other. So that's why I feel like yes, a lot of my culture and how I was raised and what I seen growing up influenced a lot of things that I've done. That's why coming here was just so different to see a different life. It was different.
Very good. Thank you for answering the question. I thank you. Just be honest. That's why we're here, and I appreciate that. So tell us. So tell us, what are you doing when you come home? So we understand. If I want to participate, if I want to even help you in some way, and part of
You
that
can
is
do
bringing
that.
you on this show. But I'm listening to the show. Tell us what you're going to be doing when you're down here, and what help do you need from the community?
So while I'm down there, I will be actually in the communities. I have a videographer coming with me as well, and he will be documenting me document through photography. I will be doing the photography part. He'll be doing the videography part. But I do want people who would like to be a part of this project, if you would definitely like to tell a story or just keep stories alive or share something that you want people to know about the culture, You can do that. I'll be in Choppee most of the time, but I will be on that Saturday on June. I don't know the exact date. I know it's either June 5th. I think June 5th. I'll be in Georgetown throughout the day, documenting in Georgetown. So even in the city, we're going to cover the city and the county. I feel like we all fall under that, system in both city and county areas. So I want everybody who can and would like to participate, hit me up. You can email me. I'll figure out. I'll give something to Miss Marilyn to get it out for everybody to get my email to contact me directly, because I want to be able to get as much people in this as possible back home, because this is my home and I want y'all to tell the story. I'm not controlling anybody's narrative. If I want the people will speak for me. I don't really need to say much. I want them to do the talking, and I want to be able to document everybody being authentic, because one thing about Gullah people, we know how to have a good time, okay? We know how to have a good time. We know how to keep that spirit, and we are a liberated culture. So when I come home, if you want headshots, I'm also doing headshots in cultural attire. So if you like to get a headshot to put in the exhibit, hit me up. I need at least 20 people. I need at least 20 people, honestly.
So can they contact you by the email that I've been using, locksimage at
Yes, at
gmail.com? All right.
gmail.com. Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, y'all. I'm going to scroll that at the bottom of the screen. If you're interested in helping Marley out, he needs us to come on out and help him, and you can contact him. I'm scrolling it at the bottom,
Oh, there you
locksimage
go.
at gmail.com to
Yes, ma'am.
participate. I put the Marley Geechee experience to participate in that. You may have the opportunity to be in an exhibit that's going to happen in 2022 in Charlottesville, Virginia. But Marley, he needs the help now to get the pictures and the video done,
Yeah,
right?
I need all
So
that.
so yeah, so the email is locks, LOCS image at gmail.com. Just reach out to him and let him know that you are interested when he comes down in early June. That you are here in Georgetown in the city or county, or you might be in Charleston listening, or in Horry County, and you guys can come down for the day. And I think part of it is involved, Marley, you may be doing like some little interviews. Is that
Yes.
accurate too?
Yes, I will be doing I'm getting with the older people. I'm trying to connect with the older people to document their stories, because change, it's we transitioning the era, the generations are leaving, and I want most all of this, honestly, like after this exhibit, I'm hoping it starts in Charlottesville in February 2022. But even after that, I want to get it home. I want to get it in as much exhibitions as I can. I'm really trying to get it as many places as I can. That's why people taking part, I need it. It's important, not just for me, but for the culture, and especially Georgetown. Like I said, I really want to be a big amplifier for Georgetown County in the city. That's my home. That's what birthed me. That's what made me who I am today. So doing this, if I can get it down in Choppee, I could. If I can get the exhibit in Choppee, I'll bring it to Choppee.
Well,
I'll bring it to
I'll
Choppee.
sit here now, and I see Ebony. Thank you. She says she's seen your work over the years. She's glad you're showcasing your work back home, bringing it back
Thank
home.
you.
I know celebrating your culture is so important, but I just want to let you know, 2022, we're gonna do something. We
Yeah, let's
just
get it.
finished the International Gullah Film Festival virtually. We
Oh
will be
wow.
doing it again in May 2022. But part of it is showcasing artists of all multimedia, whether it's photographs, oil, whatever. So, let's look towards making this part of the International Gullah Film Festival,
We
which
can
is
do
a
that.
celebration of the African and Gullah diaspora in film. But film is simply storytelling. Your photographs are simply storytelling,
Storytelling.
and you're focusing this time on your Gullah community story. So we need to applaud you. We need to applaud
Thank
young
you.
folks who are recognizing and appreciating our Gala culture. Yes, P. Laura, we're going to display some of your images in the culture center while home. Yep.
Yes.
Yep, there's a culture
Yes,
center we can
that.
tap into. Definitely. Yeah, so we definitely, Marley, want to support you. And let's talk about some more of your pictures. I have them because this is the one I put up with um the show ad, my promotional. It's the neon Confederate monument, which I actually think this is pretty cool.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
I really, that's why I used it for the promotional piece.
Thank
Now,
you.
and it's not about the subject matter. I think who's the Confederate? Is a Confederate general? Is it Robert E. Lee?
You know it.
Who is this?
Robert E. Lee. It's Robert E. Lee.
It is Robert E. Lee. Yeah. So I'm not a big fan of Robert E. Lee, but I love the art. I love what you did with it with the neon. So tell us why this monument and why you took a picture of it, a photo of it, and also the neon. What were you trying to emphasize here?
That when I first started documenting in Richmond, um, the first day when they put the curfew on the city of Richmond, the mayor put the curfew in, and the first day of the curfew, we were all protesting. This is the statue where the Richmond police and the National Guard came in and started tear gassing, pepper spraying us because, and this was right before the curfew. Like we could be out there. The curfew wasn't. It was like 10 minutes before. It wasn't even 10 minutes before the curfew, and they were just out there tear gas, and it was real. It was different. I've never experienced anything like it. But this statue is one of the biggest It's like this statue is huge. This is actually a picture that I actually turned into artwork. The original picture is the actual photo. These are actual people in the picture, and that's the actual statue. But if you look down on the some areas, you will see like graffiti. Those are like different things. People they turn it into art. I felt like, to me, that's liberating, and that's why I documented. I got a lot of photos of Robert E. Lee in Richmond because this statue is one of the biggest Robert E. Lee statues in Virginia, and they are looking. The city of Richmond they're planning to remove it, so I had to, in that state that it was in, I had to document that.
Okay, understood. So, and just to let you know, I don't know many people realize tear gas is actually the use of tear gas is against international law. So, yeah, people need to be aware of that. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you know what, Miss Marilyn,
it,
they didn't
but
think
we
about
know
that day.
we are in somewhat of a police state, but that's another conversation. Our
For
next
another
photo I
day.
want to bring up is Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina. Was this before or after the massacre at the church?
This was after. This was after that had happened. I had been home for like 2 weeks. And when I come home to visit my family, I'll stay for like a week or two. And while I'm home, I always go down in the local. I love taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to document this because I grew up in the AME church, and I was involved in the YPD, and this was a church that basically kind of, I existed in this church before. So after this happened, I had just moved to Charlottesville after the Dylan Roof situation when he killed him. I literally had just moved to Charlottesville. I was up here for like 2 days, and then this happened, and it kind of hurt me because it was like I'm so far away from home. So every time I go home, I always try to go to different places where different things have meaning, just to embrace the energy, because those were Gullah people. Those were Gullah people, and to see something like that happen away from home was a different impact. It hurt, and until this day, it hurts differently. When people in Charlottesville bring it up all the time, it just does something to me because it's like that's my people. You know, that
And,
that's
and
my people.
yeah, and it's not only our people, it's our church.
And our church, right?
And our
Come
churches
on.
are sacred spaces, even for those of us who may not go to church all the time, who may say the church needs to do more. Most of us were raised in the church.
Right.
So when something like the massacre happens, and We don't want it to happen anymore, and we don't want it to happen to others. But when it happened, it's very personal for us. It felt, we all, I think, felt, as you said, Gullah, a Black person, felt something personally wounded and hurt,
Yeah.
because we all have memories of church. We know that those folks opened the door and welcomed him, because our mothers and fathers and grandparents would have done the same thing. We can
Same.
tell you, I know all of us, at least one story that the church welcomed someone that doesn't look like us or worship like us into the church. That's not unusual.
Nope.
And so to have that sanctuary violated, it still stays with us. Even talking now, it's emotional for me. Not as emotional at the
Yeah.
beginning, but it still is. An
Yeah.
emotional thing with Emmanuel. It's a scar upon all of us. It's a wound upon all of us. So I can appreciate the picture. Beautiful picture, by the way. I'll put it up again for folks to look at. I love the angle of this picture. It's actually unusual. Usually you see Emmanuel is a direct,
Right.
front directly picture, or coming from the left side of the church. I don't know why people do that. Well, I think that's how they walk down from Marion Square towards the church. You're coming up from the left side of the church. But this is the right angle of the church. So it's a different perspective, an unusual perspective. But that's a beautiful picture, by the way. I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
to
I was in
bring that up.
Charleston. I was in Charleston while I was home one day, and I was just riding around taking different pictures. And I wanted to have that. I wanted to, because, like you said, it's something. It's heavy. That's a heavy subject. It's heavy. It's different, and that I wanted to have a documentation of it. I'm also going to include it in the not that picture in particular. I'm going to get a different. I'm gonna try to get the same angle, since you said it's unusual, because in my project I am uh going to amplify Black churches, especially the AME churches, because of Mother Emmanuel. And I grew up AME. This is my experience about how I came up, and I'm keeping it real. I came up in the church, AME church, Nazareth AME, and Charleston. Like, Charleston, we all been family through the church. We met a lot of people through the church. So when that happened, I definitely was hurt that I was away from home, and it hits different because I kind of, I don't know. Taiwan's a we. I would that was somebody that I knew because of YPD, and that's just, you looking at people you grew up. It's just different. It's different.
You just never think something like that would happen. And
What
I
happened? Right?
knew I knew Senator Clementi Pinckney, and I know people who were related to those um who were killed, who lost family members. And I actually at the time was working about 3 blocks away from Emmanuel and me in Charleston. And then that evening it happened, I was home and got a phone call. And the position I was in, we had to prepare. I did a lot of the emergency management stuff. So when we got to work, we had to prepare. They had not found Dylan Roof. So we walked into work, where is he? We had to go into lockdown. Um, they didn't find him till later that morning. And so it really, people don't realize it tragically lost those lives, those 9 lives. But the family impacted was a big family. Because
Yep.
you either knew him, or you know somebody who knew him, or you were related to him. So,
Right.
or you knew somebody who was related to him.
Related
Because
to
South
it.
Carolina is a small state. People forget
It
that.
is.
South Carolina is like a big city. It's a
Facts.
small state. It's a small city. You
Everybody
related to somebody, you're married to
Yep.
them, or you know them some way or the other. So yeah,
Everybody in the
but
corner know
beautiful picture.
everybody.
That's right. Beautiful picture. Beautiful
Thank you.
picture. So, Marley, what would you tell a young person interested in using their creative talent? No, based on your journey, what advice would you give a young person?
I have never had anybody ask me that question before, Miss Marilyn. Um, But if I can give any advice to any young person, uh, about, especially in my journey, it hasn't been an easy journey. Definitely, I tell you that. But if something is your passion and you really want to do it, go for it. Um, a lot of people don't understand how people become attached to their passions in a lot of ways because it's just something that's in them. And most creatives, like, being a creative is challenging because you, especially when you can do so many different things, you don't know what to do and stick to. So for me, like, people would tell me I need to figure out just one type of photography. No, I'm going to do all of them because I can. I don't want to stick to one thing. So being that type of person, but sometimes I feel like I got ADHD because I can't stay. After I get one project done, I'm on to the next. That's what I'm always, because it's my passion is creating and amplifying. So my advice to anybody who wants to get in any type of creative world, whether it's media, music, if you're a music artist, I support you doing it. And if that's your passion and that's what you want to do, you're going to do it. If it's in you, you're going to do it. It's going to show. And that's something that I have proven myself to be facts. I never thought in the last 3 years I've done a whole lot that I never thought that I could do. Like, my camera has taken me to Africa, and I've always dreamed of going to Africa, but I never thought that being a creative and a passion is something that I love and that I'm really good at. And while I'm in Africa, I'm learning how to I'm practicing. It's all in what you make your experience to be. And never let nobody make you feel and pressure that you have to do it a certain way. Do it in a way that is comfortable for you. Do it in a way that you can manage it and that you have to deal with it.
I'm so glad that you said it that way because as you were speaking, I was thinking, I just feel this energy from you that you are very comfortable in your journey. And not comfortable as in I'm satisfied where I'm at. Comfortable as in you have the knowledge to know that this is your passion, this is
Yes,
your
ma'am.
journey. And that means you're going to constantly be growing. And as you said, you finish one project, you're on to the next
I'm getting
because you're
teary eyed.
challenging yourself and you're enjoying yourself. And it's not work, it's passion.
Yeah,
And when
it's
you
it's all
find your
passion.
passion, yeah, you find your journey, the the gifts and the blessings will come on to you. Because
Facts.
yeah,
They
yeah,
come.
and when you're telling us that you went to Africa because of your photography, it's because that passion, somebody saw that passion in you and opened those doors for you, the
Right.
opportunities. And P. Laura, you're right, the Gullah way, because I very much believe in energy and the Gullah, and that's why I bring up our ancestors and our grandmothers and what they told us and taught us. It's about energy. It's a thread that ties us all the way back to Africa. That energy, you find it in the water, in the land, and the knowledge that we had. So it's beautiful. I really appreciate what you said, Marley. Really
Thank you.
appreciate that. Yeah,
I
you're right,
appreciate
Ebony.
you for
Got to
saying
pay
that.
amen on that.
I appreciate you for saying that because it really is. When I went to Africa, that changed my life. Like, my perspective, I felt like, I tell every time people ask me and like how my experience was, if you are not from South Carolina, you will not understand. When I was in Africa and Ghana being on the water, I felt like I was home. I felt like I was supposed to be there. I really felt like South Carolina should not be where it is because that's just how much of home I felt like I was at. And seeing how it looked over there and how they lived and how they stuck together and how they took care of each other and it was family, it was just different. It's like I didn't
Took it to a whole nother level.
a whole different level. It's showing it literally shows you an example of home. And it's like to come all the way across the ocean, that was a long flight. Mind you, I'm paranoid, I'm sleeping the whole time because I'm just like, Lord, I hope the plane don't crash if we go in the water. Like, I got all these things. I'm not gonna lie, Miss Marilyn, I was a little
That's all right.
scared,
That's all right.
because we
I
water
probably feel
people.
the
We
same
people,
way. I'm
we
going one day
water.
myself. Yeah, I got you. That's
So
all
it's
right.
like,
That's fine. That's fine.
but yeah, it was worth it.
All right, I just want to remind everybody that you are watching a gathering place. And Marley, I look forward to meeting you in person when you make it down here in June. I am excited for you and your
Agreed.
journey and your photojournalism. I can't wait to see what comes from this. But let's wrap it up with reminding folks why you're coming down in June. You received a grant to put together this exhibit in 2022 in Charlottesville, Virginia, but you're focusing on your culture, the Gullah culture. So tell us a little bit more about it. Remind us. And then everyone at the bottom of the screen, if you want to be a part of this project, if you want to help document our culture, who you are, contact Marley. Marley, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about it.
So yes, again, Second Street did select me as a artist to show this project, and the exhibition is set to start February 4th through the February 28th, 2022. And we're actually raising the funds for the project right now. If anybody would like to donate, you can follow the Geechee Experience, or my handle is the tab. Follow me on there. Get all the links where you can even donate to the project. We want to make this project as big as we can, because it's only it's one videographer and it's one photographer. So we want to do as much as I can with to try to bring this project to make it as possible. Um, I also am looking forward to meeting everybody. That's because it's a lot of people that I don't know too. But I'll be in Georgetown County June 3rd through June 7th. So those are the dates that I'll be in the area. So you can hit me up if you want to do an interview, or if you just want to tell your story or have a headshot. That's what we'll be
Yeah,
doing in
so
the next couple weeks.
Marley,
I'll also be back
yeah,
home. I'll also be back home after that. I'll be back home for Juneteenth. I'll be home after that as well. If you miss me then, I'll be back home.
Marley, there is an event happening in Bucksport June 10th that I'll send you the information. That might be a good place to set up to do the
You said
pictures and stuff
Bucksport?
in Bucksport, in
It's
Horry
a Gullah.
County.
Oh, got you. Okay, babe.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
time
yeah.
is it on
That's
that day? It's
beautiful.
on
That's a
Juneteenth?
Yeah, that's another
Okay,
Gullah community. Yeah, in Horry
got you.
County. Yeah, I
Cool.
need to hook
I'm
you
gonna
up
look
with
into
the
that.
folks
Yeah, do that.
organizing it. Yeah,
That's
so
up
at
the
the bottom
road.
of the screen, folks, Marley's email address, locksimage@gmail.com, to participate in the Marley Geechee Experience. You could be part of an exhibit happening 2022 in Charlottesville, Virginia, celebrating the Gullah community. So y'all come on out, contact him, and let him know you want to participate. And Marley's going to give me. So he said he would give me some information. I will post it on the Gullah Geechee Chamber Facebook page to get in touch before you
Yes,
get down here in June, early June. And we're going to make this happen. We're going to make this happen. I know you got a big supporter in P. Laura Richards.
yes, she is. P-Law has been helping me. P-Law has been helping back home. She has really been. P-Law has been a big help. She's the reason why I know you. P-Law was like, you need to talk to Miss Marilyn. You need to talk to Miss Marilyn and let Miss Marilyn know what you're doing. P-Law
All
has been
right.
a big. She's been making sure that I keep my head up doing this too. So
Very good. I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. And Ebony, yes, we can't wait either, Ebony. We're going to make this happen. Marley, we will get some folks out for you. Make sure we get your information on our Facebook pages and share it across a number of pages and let people know they need to reach out to you. Marley,
thank you,
thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate this and appreciate
thank you.
your photographs that you shared with us. I am looking forward to seeing more and more out of you, especially
Thank you.
2022. And we're gonna do all we can to help you out.
I appreciate that, Miss Marilyn.
All right, thank you, and we'll see
Thank
you in
you.
June.
See you guys later.
All right. So, everyone, thank you for joining us today. And Marley, we certainly appreciate him coming on and sharing his story with us, his personal journey, the photography, and also that he's coming back home to celebrate the Gullah community, his own community. And of course, we encourage all of you to reach out to Marley at locksimage@gmail.com and get involved. This is a chance to record our community and our culture. Another way to record our culture culture and community. Once again, everyone, I want to thank you for joining us for a gathering place, a gathering of change makers in the Gullah community, where we come together and just share our knowledge, share our journeys and what we enjoy every Wednesday at 4 and Sunday at 4 o'clock also. And Aubrey, thank you very much. We really appreciate that. This Sunday at 4 o'clock, join us. I am hoping to get Dr. Thaddeus John Bell on to give us an update on the vaccines and COVID-19 and everything that's happening with that, because, you know, there's a lot of information out there, and we want to make sure that we continue informing our community so that, of course, we stay informed, we stay safe, and we stay healthy. Everyone, once again, thank you for joining me today. Enjoy yourself, and we'll see you on the other side. Good night.